So from customer,
Get order.
string, and then collect. And what do I need? A map, right? A map should be two map. Why not? But two map, it turns out it takes two parameters: key mapper and value mapper. Imagine the following picture. You have a stream of objects coming in. From each object, you take it. You look at it. You extract a key from it. You extract a value from it, and you put the key value in the map. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
What's the key for this?
Order ID.
Order ID, exactly. And as method reference is directly, right? Order, get ID, right? I should have told you by now that I hate lambda. Do you see any lambda here?
Order me.
Not a lambda, it's a method reference. That's my point. I don't see any error. I hate errors. And when, if I really have to have an error, I only have one line, always, as a hard rule. If I would have started saying that I hate lambda, she was all left. Right? Now I understand why, because it's more readable to have it like this. It's more readable to get payment. Oh no, it's tricky, the construct, it's a bit weird, okay, I know. But in the end, it's all more clear. And what should I write here? What is the value mapper? So I have one order. What is the value?
ID.
The actual
The
order.
actual order. Let's write in Belgian code. Order. Order. And I'm happy. Right? I'm programming. To spare me from such, I don't know how to express myself, there is this function of identity. Function. Identity. But it's optional to use it. It's a bit weird to see such a thing. It can be static import, but what I prefer to do is something like Anyway, you got the picture, right? From this order, I extract the same order. Right? The next one, before the movie bit. Get products by payment method. Woo. This is a hard one. You can check the domain in the meantime. So you have this order, and each order has a payment method. What I want from you to give me back is a map from payment method to all the orders that use that payment method. You see? So group by in SQL. Let's write it. So customer, order, string, and then what?
Group by.
I need to collect. By the way, you will see in a moment what I mean by collect. Always I collect to kill the string. When I collect, I get something in return, something which is no longer streaming, right? It's a bucket. It's a bucket of something. Collect to what? Grouping. Not to map, because if you do to map, the keys will conflict, right? There will be multiple orders with the same payment method, and you will kill yourself. So it's grouping back. And I need the classifier. What's a classifier? It's something that takes the order and returns back the key by which you want to group them. We are talking hardcore things. We are grouping orders by some key. What is the key? Exactly. But what am I doing? How cool. Right? Good. Now, time for the most expected, do you want a horror or not?
Yes.
A horror movie? Horror?
Yes.
Java developer on the most important assignment of his career. But the hotel has a dark history.
Forresten en liten detalj. Forrige Java-utvikleren Dilbert Cradle gikk per seg og drepte hele familien sin med øks.
Ja vel.
Hvis det er noe, så kan jeg kanskje gå sende deg en mail.
Ja, det er et postkontor rett nede i bygda her.
You have a gift. That gift is called the streaming. It's a gift that enables you to communicate with other beings around the entire world. It's a gift.
Og så faen ikke deployert den jævla lilla fyren.
And some places are forbidden for a reason.
Great. Great.
And no play. It's Jack, a dull boy.
En kode.
Hva er det som ikke funker?
2 ord. Check exception.
Hvordan skal du prøve å programmere i skala, da?
It's more demanding than it appeared to be.
Hallo, Daniel. Programmer oss, Daniel.
Søkt inn av en LG 970 Optimus Black med Android 32, Nova Shell, Wi-Fi Direct. Hotellet har bare en US Robotics Sportster 14, 400 fax modem fra 1994. Det søkt inn trenger en aldri så liten reformatering.
Og så kommer du og ber meg om å skifte Olafsblad.
The acclaimed director of Transformation, 2001, Backspace Odyssey, and Dr. Strangelove.
Det er du som lekte familien.
Well, very peaceful story. Det er du som er utvikleren. Du har alltid vært utvikleren. The Streaming.
Now better, right? Okay. It might be a bit out of, but anyway, excuse me, please. Access, blood, anyway. Coming back to streaming, right? Streams. Let's go for a humble now. I have this list of order lines. Well, you know this problem, you look at the code here. Customer has a list of orders. And each order in turn has its own children order lines, right? What I need to do now is to collect all the order lines for the customer in his entire history together in one single huge list, right? Just like something like this. So I'm iterating over all the orders of the customer, and for all the order lines, I'm adding to the new list all lines. You see? I'm joining all the children together. Then what I need to do next is to get the sum of all the counts for the same. So basically the question is how many products of each type has the customer bought in his entire history. Therefore, I need to sum the count attribute of the order line. For example, look at the test to get a better picture. The test for this method looks like this. This guy ordered once 3 chairs, and another time 1 table and 1 additional chair. In total, I should return 4 chairs and 1 table, right? To sum the counts for, you can imagine, right? It's a hard one. Okay, so first of all, I collected already all the order lines together in one huge list. I need to iterate over that list to stream. And what do I need to do? Let's imagine a bit. So I have these order lines, each with his product and an attribute count. What do I need to do? And here is the key one.
The group by.
This is the same thing, right? The skill. Grouping by. So I will again collect. Grouping by what?
Product per ID.
By order line. Pay attention. I have order lines here.
Yeah.
Right?
Get product.
Exactly. Or exactly. Get product. What does this give me back? Let's make it a variable. Right? What does it give me back? A product of a map from list to list, so right from product to list of order lines. I don't need that. I need something else. I need to sum up all the counts for all the order lines. Let me try something. And instead of you see, get product, grouping by can have additional parameters given. And the parameter that you supply next is another collector. Pay attention, it's another collector. This, again, was a collector. And now I'm passing another collector. Let's say counting. Counting, what will return? Let us see. First of all, it will basically count all the number of items in each group. Right? I grouped by product, and then I'm counting how many order lines are there. And let's return this. Should it work? Do you think it will work? Let's see. I expected to see, I'll read for you. I expected was that there are 4 chairs, but actual result that was given by this function is that 2 chairs. What I just did, I just counted the order lines for the chair, and indeed there are 2 order lines, but I don't need to return the number of order lines. I need to return the total items, right? For this purpose, I have the counts attribute inside the order line. So what I need to do is to sum up, summing long, I'm summarizing the keys. What keys? Things will go rampant. So, here, what should I sum? Order line. What? Get count, exactly. And again, I have 3 morses to create this. And what is it? What? Map. I wrote summarizing. Incorrect. Summing long. It's a different function. Summing long. And there you go. That's your answer. It works. No, imagine what I did. I grouped first all the order lines by product. Have different buckets. Then for each bucket in turn, I summed their count attributes together, right? Count of the first order item, count for the second order item, summing these items together. Okay, are we through? Not by far. You see, this, but until now, is it clear what we're doing here? Next, this task of joining the children of my children, joining my nephew, my grandchildren together on a family dinner. Right? This task is so common that was actually added in the options for the stream. Does anyone of you know how to do it already? Okay, so all lines equals customer dot get orders dot string, and then it's called flat. Ooh, you see the rumors. And it's with purpose. It's one of the features which is hard to grasp. It has to do with monads. Sorry. Flat map or what? So this flat map, what does it require out of me? It's a function that, given an order, will return me a stream of children. A stream of children. So how do I get the stream of order lines? Order, get one line, or stream. Even I can have, sorry. Try. Okay, and then what? I got, so this basically returned me a stream of order lines, right? What do I do next?
You have to
collect.
Collect.
Correct. When you don't know what to do, you collect. Okay, and I say that this is similar. It still works. Flat. Ooh la la. So you see, it's a bit shorter than this. Let's cut this bit and leave only this part. Right?
But it's not very well, it can't be readable.
A flat map, if you don't know what flat map is, it's unreadable, of course. But if you know what flat map is, it makes sense. I'm grouping the children. But I agree with you, it's one of the features which is not immediate, which is not very trivial. I mean, you can, yeah, it's not that easy. But now I will even inline this variable more here. But when I do that, I see this. I have a stream of order lines, I'm collecting them, and I'm streaming it again. Why? Right? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. And there you go, there are 2 lines. If you implement it in Java 7, 10, 12 lines at least. And arguably it's more readable even. I'm flattening the children, then I'm correcting grouping by product and summing the counts of each product line. Okay, next one. I want to get all the products that were ever bought by this customer in a single list, unique, and so on. Let's take it step by step. How do I get to the product from the customer? How do I get to the product? Look at the model.
Get.
Order
line.
Order. Then what?
Order lines. We have to get the order lines.
Map.
Map. From what?
Order. Get order lines. Catalog.
Okay. What's this? First, one thing that you can do when you are still learning Lambda, is to always see what you got back.
You have the order lines.
Are you happy with what I got back?
No.
No.
Map again.
Flat map. You got a stream of list of children, whereas you wanted to join, concatenate those children. It's a flat map. By the way, so you have your items, each has its own children, right? Flat map, what it does, it just concatenates all the children together. That's it. Joining your children in a new stream. Right?
But doesn't it also apply the function on all of them?
The function which is applied, sorry.
Does it apply just once or it applies this until?
For each item applies the function which is specified, but the function should return a stream of something. That's the thing. It's also transforming, it's transforming from the stream. So now I have this stream of lists. How can I go further? It's tricky. Let me try. So again, I need flat, of course, flat. But how? And check this out. I never did that in my rehearsal. What about list stream? What the hell am I doing? Does it make sense to what I did? Is it correct? I got a stream of lists, and then I streamed each list. Okay, sorry. Let's write it. So this is one way of doing it, but the more readable way, in my opinion, is to have flat map directly, and to say from each order, order, get order lines. It's a bit more readable, perhaps. No. With time, perhaps you will prefer the first option. Then what? I get now a stream of order lines. What do I need to do next?
We map and we get the product.
By
Flat map.
using
We
what?
flat map and get the.
Why flat map? You don't need flat map here. One order line has one product. You see? You're going to one product. So you're just transforming. If you have any kind of issues, tell me if I can help. Okay. I saw some busy people.
Order line, get product.
Order line, get product. Right? Now I have here, this returns me a stream of products. What do I need to do next? I need to have unique products.
Collect.
Unique. What is the operator? Distinct, right? That's it. Distinct, using equals. And then what?
Collect.
Okay.
Two lists.
But I missed one bit of the specification. Return directly. I missed one bit. Sorted. I missed the sorted part. So I need, after this thing or before, to do a sort. And I need to sort the products by what?
Comparator.
By compare, because they are not naturally sortable. And by what criteria do I want to sort?
Name.
Name. So, tell me.
Product name.
Comparing.
Comparable comparing of product get name. In my opinion, it's a bit too much. There are too many steps. That's another point you should have in mind. Don't change several operations of the stream. Break it once, collect things, and then stream them again in other methods. Maybe too much to understand. Perhaps. I don't know. Okay, is it clear until now? 100%? Okay. The difference between a talk and a workshop is that you should leave here with everything crystal clear, right? In talks you may nod your head, laugh, and then walk away, okay. But in workshops that's different. Next one, get names of all the products bought by the customer, sorted, then concatenated by comma. Hint, reuse the previous function. What did the previous function do? We got all the products sorted by name.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? So let's call the previous method P07 of customer. It returns me back a list of products. True?
Yeah.
Stream it, yes. And then what? I need to get the names of the products and join them together.
Collect and join. Reduce.
Collect.
Collect and join.
Here.
Who is it? Collect. By what character? Joining. The joining allows me to give the delimiter, right? Like this. It doesn't work. Why?
Collectors of joining.
Collect requires the stream to be a stream of strings before collecting it. You need a map first to extract the name out of each product. You see?
To string.
So here, map.
To string.
To string, well, not to string. It's, by the way, don't ever use to string for business purposes, for logic. To string is only for debug. Never ever do business logic or interesting things, the format for CSV export to string, never. Write a dedicated function. So not to string. It's actually, I want to map by product, get name. Okay. Now, okay, joining. How cool. Next one. Next one is a tricky one. Do you know about folding in functional programming? Yes?
Yeah,
Probably. You know, okay. We will see how it happens. But first of all, the requirement is I want to sum all the total prices of all the orders of this customer together. But you see, the prices are in big decimal, of course. They are money. So, customer, orders, oops, get orders, stream. And then what do I do? Well, sum, right? What do you mean sum? Sorry? Reduce. But let's get there step by step. First of all, I want to have sum. Right? Sum. Why don't I have sum? Because imagine you have a list of cows. How do you sum two cows together? You know, two chairs. How do you sum two chairs? A string can be of anything, right? Of object. So on stream of object, there is no sum method, obviously. But, however, there is this thing named long stream. Ooh, what the heck is it? Stream we saw, but long stream, what is it? It's a stream of long, right? Which actually has an interesting method, sum. Ooh, how convenient, right? From a stream of numbers, you can sum them, obvious. How do I get to a long stream? That's my question now. So, you know about the map method, but you don't know yet about map to long method. Map to long takes a function that from an order returns back a long, right? So I can do this order dot get total price dot long value. From big decimal, I'm getting the long, and then I have this is basically a long string. True? Yeah. And I can do some. So, green. I can run for coffee, right? First of all, this is not, I can do better than this. I can do map. Let me show you the map. But this is optional. I don't say that this is a better approach. Get total price. right?
How is it?
And then I ended up with this big decimal, error. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And then I can even do more. I hate lambda. I don't say this is way better or even better, just another way. Good, it still works, but now I have a different, you see, I was summing here 1 million orders, and the rounding that I did when I truncated too long actually started to count. Therefore, I don't want anymore to truncate too long, but I want to sum the big decimal together as they are, with big decimals, not to lose the precision. You can figure it out, right? The decimals. So how can I do that? Folding. What the heck is folding? Folding is quite simple actually. You have this stream of things, whatever they are, and you start with the seed, with the initial value, and then from that value and the first item you apply the plus, you get 2. Then from the new value and the next item you apply the fold, plus 6, 7, 10. So starting, given an initial value and an operator, you can fold the stream. You see what I did? Yeah. Tick, 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 just like summing two numbers in first grade. The same idea. Folding. Reduce of 0 and plus. Ooh la la. How could that go? Reduce with 0 and plus. I'm not kidding. Although you might have expected, right? Java changed so much that it wouldn't be. But what is 0 in big decimal? 0. Okay. What is the plus in big decimal? So the operator plus takes 2 big decimals and returns back what?
The sum of them.
The sum. And you can do the sum BD1 add BD2. Now, what I get back from it is a big decimal. I need to truncate it only here. But I'm truncating here, not all the way. So the error is way smaller. Question for Olympics. Can I use math method references here?
Big decimal dots out.
Big decimal. First of all, add is an instance method of a big decimal. What is the signature if you extract it as a function?
Big decimal 1, big decimal 2.
You already see it's not obvious, right? But I need to write it. Big decimal. Sorry, B function. It's a B function from big decimal 1, which is the instance that I need. Then the big decimal that I give parameter to it, and the big decimal that I return. And this is basically the add operator, which is big decimal add. You see? It's hard. Okay. It's hard, but it works. What the heck? So here I can write this bit. And now it's almost as in the slide, right? 0 and plus. That's it. Folding. We can do way more complex things here, but it's not the purpose. Or not. We can compose in different ways the items together. Okay. Let's turn back to slide a bit. Where we were, what we did now, we did map. We saw that it's good to pull the mappings in a dedicated method and put the method even in a different mapper, somewhere else. However you don't use long lambdas, extract methods and reference them by name, because this way you got the chance to put in a name to that thing. Yeah? You name the functionality. So prefer to use suggested names. I don't know, 60% of what clean code means to choose good names. You know the say, there are only 2 things hard in programming.
Finding the names.
Cache invalidation, distributed caching, cache trashing, and naming things. So naming things isn't as trivial as it might look, no. When you have the chance to put in a name, do your best to select the best possible. On this one, there's a guy which says that he looked for a name 4 hours. 4 goddamn hours he looked for how to name a class.
How did he name?
In thesaurus. But the point is, he was starting a new application. But at the end of the 4 hours, his entire design was clear in his head. Because by checking out all the possible meanings of that word, he understood all sorts of references to other concepts. So when the time at the end he put the name, he solved the entire application. So look for, I don't say you should put your Jira ticket, look for a name for us. No. I feel that when you get a chance of putting a name, do your best to find a good name, a suggestive name, right? Clean Code book, you should have the, you know the Clean Code book, the Bible?
Yeah.
You should sleep on it, you should have it, you should put it on your wall. Every new hire should have a task in Jira, read Clean book, estimate the time, 1 week. Okay, map. We also heard about flat map. Don't mind. Then so from stream, we connected it maybe to a list, maybe to a set. And we also saw that we could connect to set, or we could distinct each item. There's a very slight difference, but there is. I shouldn't tell you, but anyway. A hash set checks equality using hash code equals. Distinct only uses equals. Whatever it means. Okay, collect to collection of something different, a different collection. My weird graph, my tree set, blah, blah, blah. I can collect even to a map in case I want to create a map from ID to the object, in case I'm grouping by a primary key, in case I'm not grouping by a primary key. In case I'm not grouping by a primary key, entries will conflict. Therefore, what I will get back is basically a map between key and the list of items, you see? Because for each payment method, there were multiple orders, remember? So, group those together. And if you only do grouping by key extractor, you get back by default a list of children. But you can go further, and you can, after the key extractor, you can put another collector. What the heck? You can to set the groups together. You can to list, you can count them, you can sum them, you can even group them by another criteria, and I will stop now. The point is that we also saw joining using comma, right? We joined the stream of strings together. Then we also heard about numeric strings, right? That have sum, to which you get by mapping to long, to float, to whatever it is, right? And we also get a feeling of what custom folding means, right? Start from 0 plus first, plus second, plus third. Okay, that's basically what's on the chart. For the for each, I wouldn't mention a word. Don't use for each. Okay, some could step up and leave the room. According to what the study told me, almost everyone considered easier to understand and to change of classic for each, you know, for the standard Java 5 form. It's simpler to read. Right? And by the way, I should have showed you something. This is not the very first idea which I get if I want to solve the problem. I could have another approach. Excuse my boldness, but I could, for each, what the heck? For each of them, right? From each big desk, from each what? From each order, do something. What? What am I going to do? Guys will leave the room. What are you doing? You are breaking the code. What the heck are you doing? They should be alone with me. Are you mad, man? What are you doing? Why doesn't it work?
Because you shouldn't modify something that's also.
Do you have any idea how hard this is? And why? Tell me why.
Let's go harder.
Now my question, do you want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
No. Manipulation. The point is, how can I tell you? Where this variable lives in memory? I hear stack. And not stack overflow. Stack trace, stack frame, right? Stack frame. The stack frame of the method. When the method exits, the stack frame is cleared away, right? Right. So what would happen in case let me, I'll write another function. So, let me give you a runnable, public, runnable, make incrementer, right? Which does the following: int x equals 0, return, and this is runnable, by the way. This is the simplest number you can ever run. This is a number. It's implementing the run method of the runnable. Yeah. takes nothing, returns nothing.
Yeah.
And inside, I do x++, of course. Then, here, I invoke the method makeIncremental. I'm getting back the random, true? And I invoke it 2 times. By the way, this is called higher order function. A function which returns another function is basically a higher order function. Okay, and now tell me, when I invoke R, so I invoke this method, it's all fine, I reference here the value, it's all fine. I exit, the stack frame of this method is thrown away, along with the memory address of x, true? And then I come and say run in plus what, plus on what? Is no longer there. The memory address was just freed away because you referenced the variable which was on stack. Don't ask me what's a stack, by the way. You're on the conference, I think you know what stack you have. The stack is gone. And you reference what, you see? However, if you make it a field, how nice, it still works. Right? It's a field. And the object still exists. But however, I can do this. And this works despite, I mean, it's a bit confusing. We are referencing what here? You see, this value literally is taken away together with the lambda. Some kind of closure. When you design a language, for example, in JavaScript, x++ works. And leads to lovely memory leaks. But anyway, this still works in Java language designer had a decision to make, and it chose not to allow closures to modify the variables from the closure of the lambda. Therefore, you can reference other values, only you don't. You can't change them. Okay, now, in case you didn't understand what I said, what the hell I was talking for the last 5 minutes, don't mind. Just know that you cannot modify a local variable from inside the method in which you created the lambda. And so
it's about the atomic operations?
Effectively, no. Effectively, that had to do with concurrency. I'm a single threaded. No. It's so it is called effectively operation. Any variable which is, any external variable which is defined, which is referenced here, is effectively found. Anyway, just that you know the interview, you know?
Do you get a runtime?
Sorry? No, it won't compile. It's red. I mean, it's just screens. Okay, we got the compile error, fortunately. Okay, so this is about for each, right? Short circuiting, it's time to dive more and understand more things. Let's say you streamed the orders, you filtered only the active one, and you mapped them, you extracted the creation date out of each order. What will happen at runtime? Well, you have a stream of orders. Then, but when you call this method, nothing happens. When you call filter, nothing happens at that moment. Nothing happens. If you put a breakpoint, you pass a breakpoint, no item will be seen. Nothing happens. But when you reach the collect, which is a terminal operation, this will ask an item up. Give me. This will say, for where? I have empty pockets. Give me. Give me. It gives the initial list, let's say, gives the filter the first item, but this doesn't match the predicate. So the filter asks again, give me more. Give me more. Yeah. Gives another item. But this one passes the test. And the filter returns it back to the map, which transforms to date, and which gives back to character, which puts it in the list. What should do the collector next? Ask for more, right? And the same flow again. And then again. Did that no match? Again. Now, let's think about performance. Let's think about performance. How many invocations to get 3 damn elements in the list? 12 invocations. A hell lot of function calls. For something, so if you want performance, don't use lambda for your critical kernel driver code. No. Never. These are intended to make the code look cleaner, right? So performance, very interesting. What if we limited it here to 3? It would receive a 3, and then the collect would do what? Would ask for more. What will the limit tell the collector? Oh, Nothing, right? Nope, I'm done. So the string is closed, basically. In some terms, limit will kill the string, will not process anything less. This means short-circuiting in a way. It means the stream can be, by the way, I never said that streams must be finite. You can have a stream of an infinite stream of random numbers, you know. This way, with limit, you can limit the first 100, for example. You can even write a Fibonacci string yourself. It's very interesting in practice. What if you would use find first here? Find first will ask for one element, and once it receives that element, it will not ask for another one. It will just terminate the operation, it will just stop the processing, return that optional, by the way. Remember, the dreaded optional. And the rest of the items won't even be seen, won't even process any, not at all. I also fear options. I don't have getters in my entities which return options yet. It doesn't my to-do list, I'll implement this in 1 week or 2 weeks time. It's right now, I don't want to do that. Your getters are entities to return options. How cool is that? I even started doing that. So embrace optional and use it. You know, when you export to a CSV file, to an export file, you will somehow go through the model. And when you navigate model, you know the train wrecks, get blah blah, get blah blah, dot, get blah blah, right? Any null in that path, it's a lovely exception. What I do now, map, 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 or else null at the end. And I completely avoid the nulls, the null pointer exception. It's creepy. The code looks a bit weird, but I don't have the null pointer exception. Interesting. This is short circuit. Now, what's left? What is the most important principle in programming, in your opinion?
Don't repeat yourself.
Don't repeat yourself. Don't repeat yourself. Or that's the other most important principle. In my opinion, this, dry, and these are the most important principles. What's this?
Single responsibility.
Single responsibility principle. Both of them, out of which I like most dry. So many people say the single responsibility principle is the most important principle. Have code do one single thing at a time, not multiple things. But I prefer KISS. Keep it simple at all times. Keep it short and simple. Keep it simple and stupid, said the US Navy. That's the original code. Keep it stupid and simple. When the Japanese hit you with the cannons, you have to be, that cannon that you have in front of you must be trivial to operate, right? Just aim and push and that's it, right? Simple code. We like to say, keep it short and simple. So keep it short and simple. Okay, these are the clean code principles which are carved in stone, right? Short functions, 5 lines. Read the book, the Bible, right? This means, okay, I don't have 5 lines in all the application, but in the
You didn't have at all 5 lines in this.
Sorry?
You didn't have 5 lines in this.
I have, but it's a simple example. But in production code, I do have 5 liners in the business logic services. Okay. But in the outside world, there is code which is 20, 15, but not more than 20. I know, I saw methods of 159. Okay, 2,000 lines, that's all. In lambda, this translates to avoiding multi-line lambdas. If you enter lambda, enter, it's not readable anymore. The indentation is screwed, it's awful. And also, out of the KISS principle, the most important is the simple part. Not short code you want. You can write short code with lambda, then you will blow everyone's mind. You can do that. But that shouldn't be on purpose. Because the delivery day will come. The D-day. Right? So, have simplest form that you can write. Ask a colleague of you to review the code. This is the best advice that I can give you. Ask someone to review a lambda. Try to explain what you wrote to someone who is not proficient in lambda. And see what they say. Right? Use expressive names. This translating lambda to using for-dot notation. I've told you. Put a name to that method, to that lambda. I hate lambda. Right? Don't use more than 3 parameters because then you will have a hard time with lambda. There is no tree function by default. Avoid Boolean parameters when you have a function which takes 3 Booleans. what will you find inside that function? Usually.
Reverse.
Dirt. No.
You have two actions.
You have 3, 4, 6, 9 actions possibly. How many? 6 actions possibly happening inside. Don't ever do that. 9 actions. Don't ever do that. Right? A Boolean is a code slow. A Boolean as a parameter to a function is a. I cannot refrain myself. This is clean code, and I love clean code. Sorry, it has nothing to do with numbers. Don't put Boolean parameters in your function signatures. It's a sign of adding responsibility, addition of dirt. You know? Don't throw checked exception. It's bad for your health. It's very bad. If you really do want to do that in Lambda, you can try this one. Encapsulate conditional. Then I'll have a quick last exercise with you. You'll see in a moment what this means. And also, don't be afraid of introducing new variables just to explain what you want to say. So explanatory variables, just that you put a name to something. Right? But this is the most important advice. Per problem, yes.
I do have a question. For what level of complexity should we start using lambdas?
Level of complexity. Each method should be understandable in 3 to 5 seconds.
No, you said earlier that lambdas are not performant.
Complex, you mean performance.
Performance.
Okay. You know what Knut said? Knut was a guy that dedicated his entire life to optimizing algorithms. He was a guy of n log n, n squared log n, and that stuff. And he said premature optimization is the root of all evil. So I don't give a shit about performance. I don't give a shit. If I measure a problem, of course, I wouldn't query. I wouldn't query the database in a loop, of course. For e to 1 to 1 million select. I wouldn't invoke a REST service in a loop, of course. I wouldn't do absurdities. But don't think too much about performance from the start point. The sole purpose that you should have is a clean code, maintainable, readable, easy code, and simple code. Don't try to foresee the performance problem. Measure it. That's part of the clean code training, the performance training. The point is, in enterprise applications, the only performance problem that you have is usually when you do input-output with HTTP sockets, files. When you stay in memory, the servers are so fast, the just-in-time compiler is so efficient that you don't need to worry that much about performance when you actually write the algorithm in code. So even with Lambda, use them freely. Don't be scared of performance. Measure the performance and then revert to the Java 7 way and see if what you gain works to ruin the readability of the code. That's my principle, and many argue with me on that, but I always bring about that. Keep it clean for now. If something goes wrong, you will optimize it. But you should always think about possible performance problems. Indeed, you should think. It's a good point. But don't mess your code just for your thought about it. If you want to know more, just Google just-in-time compilers and see what optimizations can that tool make to your code live as it runs. It compiles in memory that got hot. It's a creepy thing that goes on underneath in GFM. Just for you not to be worried about performance. Only optimize input output. I'll just quickly show you this, how you can stream the lines out of a file. It's files.lines of a path, files to path. This gives me a stream of strings. You see what I'm doing here? A stream of strings that I get back. But there's a warning here. Can you follow what I'm doing? Huh? There's a warning. Lines is never closed. What the heck? I have a closed method on the stream? Wow. Now that's cool. Why? And why didn't I solve the warning before? Because I wasn't streaming any input-output resource. I'm streaming a file. What would happen? Who will close the file? Right? So what do I do next? File with resources, of course. I'm making Java close the stream for myself. Right? It's a tricky part. The whole recording will be there. You have the Git source. And, this is how you will automatically close the source. So bottom line, streams can be closed in case you stream from an input-output resource that needs to be closed. Okay. You want to see also the checked exception problem? Let me show you this quickly. So you have this little function. So a new file of dot list files. It's an array of files that I get here, right? And then I can stream this array. I can stream this array, and I want to transform it to map from each file to extract the get canonical path, right? And correct to list. I want to just convert them, but it turns out that this function throws an EOA exception, a checked exception. What can I do? I need to handle that exception because the map takes as a parameter a function. But the thing is that the function in Java function doesn't declare any throws, doesn't declare throw exception. You see? So I'm not allowed to throw any checked exception from a function that I reference. So I cannot use anymore this approach. So I need to revert to the classical way, to put it in brackets. Look how ugly the code will get. To put it in brackets, right? And then do a try catch here. Now that's ugly, right? That's awful. I can't even speak about this. It's so ugly. So there is an alternative way, unchecked, which is Jew library function, which allows me, like I did before, to reference the file for dots to get some other paths. It will actually try the exception for me. It will solve the exception for me so that I can reference it like that. It will throw runtime instead. You can imagine. Tricks. I want also one more thing. I'm out of time. Can I go fast, or you want to go to the conclusion directly? How do you prefer? Well, I want to know. This is Sparta, right? Look. Okay, good. That's my opinion. So dirty number. Just one point here. I have this predicate. I promise you that I'll tell you about predicates, cleaning predicates. Any idea how can I clean this? N.
Comparator.
Well, no. I only said that this is basically one test and this one also. So instead of having and, I can do exactly. To filters. It behaves exactly the same. Okay, then, what next? Before any match, what the heck is this? No, come on. This is a code that I've actually taken from some action, so it's more renamed, you know. But the point is that people actually write this code, you know? And blind status different than let's make a method, just like we did before. From this. So, where is the order line? E is not in stock. Probably boolean E is not in stock. Which returns, what a surprise, this. Right? Don't ever invoke your getter this side, right? Okay, then line equals blah blah blah, it converts to E is not in stock. I'm getting to the time limit, so in case you want to catch another stock, don't be ashamed to leave. E is not in stock, right?
There is a little break after you.
There is a what? I will tell you. This fits in a line, but opening a stream in another stream is very ugly. I am already in a stream and I'm opening another stream. It's horrible. So what do? I will take this part and I'll make it a method. How can I name this bit? What's the name for this? Has, order, has lines, not in stock. No? And it receives an order as a parameter. Has order, has lines, not in stock. It's pretty readable. And then what do I do? I hate lambdas. Why do I hate lambdas? Because it is more readable, it has a name, right? I borrowed this inside. I can do even more. But how can I extract this? Now, here comes the hard part. It should have been a hard part, right? How about extracting this part? How about extracting this part? What will happen if I extract this? It will extract a method which returns a predicate. Oh my god. How could this predicate be named? Has delivery date before 1 minute. I'm invoking a function to get back another function. And this is where we get lost, right? Calling the functions to get back another function. Oh yeah, what the heck? And I can put it even static. And I can reference it with this here, or this, whatever. And this, I don't know, it's not very readable perhaps, but I can compose them. Pay attention here. I can do another code. I can compose them. And I can reuse this in multiple places in my project. I can even put it in a separate class named order predicates and so on. So I can drill very much to simplify the code even more. So what I want to say basically is that from this is too small font. I don't have time to simplify, but it's exactly what we did. The point is here, the conclusions. I can put the predicates as Boolean functions in the items as we did is not installed. We can put it in the same class we were in this format. We can put it in a separate class as static methods that look like this. It's a small font, but it's exactly what it was in the case. Takeaways. Well, first of all, don't abuse them. Right? I know you just learned lambda. Don't write only lambda from tomorrow beginning. Don't abuse them. Always go for the simplest one. Write a colleague of you which stays on Facebook. Right here, ask him to come to review what you just wrote. See his face. Look at his pupils. If his pupils dilate, he's terrified. I'm almost serious. Or the hair on his back. I had reverted 2 days' work of refactoring because of the hair which raised on the back of the colleague. No kidding, no kidding. He also expressed himself verbally. But before he said anything, I saw his body language. It was about the criteria API. But anyway. Next, use suggestive names with method references. I hate lambda, right? Don't use errors. Master any match, and it's so unfrequently used, but it's so often useful. Any match. And also understanding use flattening. Read about Monad. Adopt the optional, adopt the GFR, adopt an option. Pet him, right? Don't do just get, try to use map, or he's present, or else, stuff like that. Work with predicates like we just saw. These are basically the references, and that's it. Thanks a lot for your time. That was all. If you have any questions, you can ask me.